A new phone app lets you do it. What kind of imagery are we talking about?
The imagery we can see with augmented reality can be anything that we have that can be made digital.
Future tech goes back in time. I'm Chuck Pell. I'm an artist, entrepreneur, and futurist. And we'll see how new gadgets are bringing history to life in this edition of Earth 2050. Welcome to Earth 2050. The future, by definition, is unknown. And we can speculate, sometimes with great accuracy, about what's coming. But what's great about future tech is it lets us go back in time. The far reaches of the Austrian Alps can be pretty forbidding. But they provided an impregnable burial ground for one of the world's most famous and studied mummies. Meet Otzi. He's about 5,000 years old, and thanks to new science, he's a treasure trove of information about our collective past.
The receding glaciers exposed his body, and they got it into the lab in time, so they were able to find out what pieces of pollen were in his lungs, what he had eaten along his journey before he was shot by an arrow, crawled into an ice crevice, and died.
Bone and tissue analysis showed Otzi may have worked smelting copper, and he had 61 tattoos. That's a lot of evidence to get from a body older than written language. DNA and an array of other tests let us know about Otzi's diet and his health at the time of his death. Even a very educated guess about his life expectancy.
In the course of my career, I've seen changes where DNA was not even a twinkle in its mother's eye when I started, and now we are very dependent on DNA analysis. Science has become a forefront part of everything that we do.
In a procedure more common to modern crime science, X-rays and photo superimposition even allowed scientists and artists to reconstruct what Otzi looked like. Practically every historian, and even your average history buff, has dreamed about going back in time to actually see what it was like hundreds or even thousands of years ago. Well, thanks to augmented reality, we're close to being able to do it.
Augmented reality is quite simply having something projected on the world in front of you and then seeing the world simultaneously. The government calls it situational awareness, and it is having the maximum amount of information about the situation at you at the point of entry.
In the same way animations can give doctors a virtual tour of the human body, augmented reality is letting people go into another world, the world of the past. Take Venice, one of the world's great cities and one of its most popular tourist destinations. My new friend, Dr. Victoria Szabo, is working to recreate the city's past with augmented reality. What did you do in Venice?
Well, in Venice, we were part of a much larger group called Visualizing Venice that was trying to think about how to represent or how to commemorate the history of the Jewish ghetto. It was the 500th anniversary of its creation, and so all sorts of things were happening in the city.
This really is a form of high-tech detective work. Why? Because if you want to recreate the way Venice or any city was in the past, you have to dig deep and find eyewitness records and accounts. After all, if you're going back even 200 years, the historical records present some challenges. Photography only goes back so far. What is your source of imagery for old Venice?
That's a great question. Photography only goes back maybe 100 or 150 years, but we're talking about 500 years ago. So what we were looking at were drawings and paintings in some cases, and written documents, sometimes the plans, the elevations for the buildings, and then extrapolating from those to create reconstructions of buildings, and then putting those into a mobile app so you could see them.
Coming up, future tech will change tourism as we know it.
You can walk through Venice and you can see the contemporary buildings. We want this to be a magic window to the past.
The sun used to make our outdoor patio space so hot and uncomfortable
We couldn't even use it.
Then we discovered the Sunsetter retractable awning. Our Sunsetter opens and closes in under 60 seconds. It keeps our patio about 20 degrees cooler.
It provides instant shade and instant protection from the sun's harmful rays.
And Sunsetters start at under $800.
But you can get your Sunsetter for as little as $599 when you call now to get this